Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to give my thoughts today quickly on a topic that's come up in my real life, and I figured maybe is worthwhile making a video on and giving my thoughts on it. So, what happened was I was talking to a few family members, and they know obviously I've quit my job recently. I've been out of the workforce now for a few months, and I was the breadwinner in our house. So I've kind of between me and my wife, we've let on like money's a little bit tighter now, so we don't necessarily do everything that we would have done in the past. We took a fairly significant income hit in order for me to be at home with the kids. We're both still happy that we've done that. We're completely okay with where we're at, and it was a calculated decision. So it's not like we're panicking or anything like that. But the reality of the situation is that we just don't earn as much money now, so we have to be a little bit more thoughtful with our spending. And we got some kind of surprised comments, I would say, because my wife went to Mexico in December. We're doing a family trip, my wife and I and our two kids, to Portugal for a couple of weeks at the end of January. And my wife is also going back to the UK in a few months to visit her family. So that they were kind of aware of these trips taking place. And, we got some surprised or some questioning, um, basically comments about this. And I would just like to say that for us, travel and vacations are a high priority. Like, we don't view them as I'm just going to go sit on the beach somewhere and kick back and unwind from my life. We picture it as like a mandatory thing. First of all, obviously my wife going back to see her family, that's everybody I think understands that. Everybody tries to get home for Christmas or something, some point throughout the year. And everybody tries to take a break here and there. But we're not just going and doing these things just to kick back and unwind from our jobs to reload and come back and do it again. We want ourselves and our kids to see more of the world, to be exposed to different situations, to see what else is out there for multiple reasons. Just even my 4-year-old still tries to say things in Spanish and Portuguese and stuff. He obviously is terrible at it because we don't speak second languages and we can't reinforce those types of things. But he does remember and he does make comments about the trips that we've taken. And he's only 4. So you might think it's useless and a waste of time and a waste of money to take your kids out and see things and do things, but they do remember and they do pick up things from your trips. So that is something that for us is a very high priority in our budget for the year or month or whatever it is. It's a non-negotiable for us, and it's higher up than things like car payments or boat payments and things like that. Because one thing that I get a lot of is or I hear a lot of is people saying, well, I can't possibly afford that, or like, oh, it must be nice to go on vacation, I can't do that. But meanwhile, the people saying this oftentimes have an $800 new truck payment or multiple $500 car payments that they've been carrying on, and then they trade in the vehicle and buy a new one, and just they go, oh well, I've almost got this one paid off, it's time to trade it in for a new thing. And they perpetually have car payments for their entire adult lives. So they're comfortable spending $1,000 a month, per household on car payments, but they can't afford, say, $5,000 in a year to go on a trip somewhere or to see a part of the world, or like, to travel with intent and expose themselves to new things. Whether they just don't know that they can do it reasonably, or maybe, I know when we say we go over to Europe, people assume that's a ton of money because in Canada we don't really go over to Europe that often. When in reality, we've done 5 weeks in Spain, we've done 3 weeks in Portugal, we've gone over to England, Ireland, like lots of different trips. And you can do it for a few $1,000s in a lot of cases, like maybe $5,000 for a family. So it's really not as expensive as I think a lot of people realize. Like, once you actually price it out and once you actually get your feet under you and start to know where to look and how to book these things, and you just get more experience doing it, more comfort doing it. And you know where you can save money, how to use the public transit in different countries, how to get a train ticket, how to be comfortable waiting in line at train stations and stuff like that. Because again, especially for North Americans, a lot of us aren't exposed to that all that much as kids or even just young adults. So to us, it's very daunting, but it's really not that big of a deal once you put yourself out there and do it. So I would say that's the main thing that we have going for us, is just the prioritization of it. Is you've got to make it a priority, if it's something that you want to do. If you have no interest in traveling, by all means, just disregard this and don't worry about it. But if it is something that you want to do, but you say that you don't have money, really take the time to look at your budget, to think about your year coming up, to think about, if 2025 is already here and it's too late for you now, start thinking about things that you can do for 2026 to start incorporating that into your budget. Even if you're just starting small, just saying like, hey, I'm going to try and cut something out. I'm going to try and cut back my cable, my phone bill, something, free up $1,000. And I'm going to like earmark this $1,000 for a trip somewhere. I'm going to spend it on a trip. I'm going to do something and get out there. Then from that point forward, you can ramp it up. It's just like, the first time you tried to invest some money, you put $20 in, then you bump it up to 50. Try and do something like that with your traveling. Try to force yourself to earmark money, to cut something else out if you have to, and put it in a special fund earmarked for travel. That would be my top recommendation, I think, for how I would go about breaking into doing some trips if it's something that I hadn't done in the past. For us, we were lucky in that our first few trips maybe weren't as cost efficient. I wouldn't even say first few, maybe first one probably wasn't as cost efficient because it was my first time traveling abroad, even though my wife had done it before. I had done a year in New Zealand, but that's an entirely different type of thing. I was young. I had no, my threshold for comfort was extremely low. It was, a backpack, hostels. It was not the same as traveling with two children in my case now. So the first time traveling with kids, I should say, our costs were a little bit higher. We went a little bit nicer on some things in fear of putting our kids in shady situations. And then it was kind of a few nights in when we were finally able to decompress and be like, okay, you know what? We didn't need to do an Airbnb this nice. We didn't need this extra bedroom here. We didn't need this massive kitchen to cook all of our meals and things. Like, you kind of come back to reality, and then you start honing in on what you actually need again. Whereas now, as I mentioned, my one kid is 4 going on 5. The other one's 2 going on 3. We've gone to Spain. We've gone to England. We've gone to Portugal. And we have a very clear idea of how much it costs and where and how we can save money and book effectively. And that's another thing about the whole cost of things is if you don't, if you're just traveling for you, like if it's just an enjoyment trip, there's no there's no rule that says you have to go during, say, spring break somewhere, or you have to go during peak season because that's the time everyone wants to be there. I know that obviously there's exceptions with like Southeast Asia. You don't want to go through a monsoon season or something like that. Like, there are things you need to look out for, but there's nothing wrong with going somewhere in September or October if it's starting the slow season then, and you can book things for, half price. Like, a lot of cases you can get an Airbnb for like a few $100s for a week that's nice, it's near the beach and things like that. Like, we've seen a lot of really good deals, even if you are maybe only getting 18 or 20 degrees Celsius weather instead of the 30 degrees that you would get in peak season. And even if some of the stores might be closed down because, again, peak season's over, you can still go to some really cool places, really affordable, and even just get your feet wet doing it that way so that you know how to better know what you're looking for and how to really scope things out the next go around. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Leave a comment below if you have any thoughts on breaking into the traveling game and how to start prioritizing and integrating that into your budget, and what are some line items that you might suggest to people to start looking to cut back on to free up some room to book some plane tickets, to book some hotel rooms, to get out there and do weekend trips, like just to start prioritizing some experiences that you may be limiting or may not be thinking about doing because you just assume that you don't have the money for it. I'd be really curious to hear other people's opinions on this, because I know there's a lot of people that are travel enthusiasts, and I know there's a lot of people that do it for very, very budget friendly prices. So yeah, please leave that below, and I'd be looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks. Bye bye.